Hey guys, God bless you. Welcome to our very first episode of Lately with the Loyas. And this is something new that we decided to do.
That's right.
And just kind of real talk, right? Having candid conversations and bringing you up to speed on what's going on in our life, what's going on in the world, breaking news, who knows, right? Current events, call it whatever you want. And so, but we just kind of had it in our heart, right? We had it in mind to do a show, to do a podcast where we can just talk about real life.
Yeah.
Right? What's going on with our life, what's going on in the world, and hopefully help somebody.
Absolutely.
Because that's what it's about. And so, guys, welcome once again to our very first episode of this new podcast,
That's right.
Lately with the Loyas. And so I guess this is my wife, if you don't know already, and Rosemary. And so I know many of you do, but in case you don't. And so what's going on in your world? Talk to us.
I want to first just welcome our audience and thank y'all for tuning in today. And we hope that our podcast, like my husband said, it's a new idea, and we hope that it's a blessing to you. And we ask that you share it with friends, with other couples, especially because we're definitely going to be talking about marriage. We're going to be talking about children. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics that I think are interesting. And so thanks for tuning in. But what's going on in my life is, we're going to be grandparents.
That's right.
That's
are going to be
the latest
grandparents.
with the Loyas for sure, is
Yeah.
we're going to be grandparents for the first time.
Yeah.
And
We're older than we look.
Not really. We're not that
So
old.
you know. No, I'm saying we're older than we look. Because you're probably saying like, you guys are too young to be grandparents. And we are, but we're not. And so
It's funny how when we were younger, though, how many remember that when you were younger, you would see your parents and
or your grandparents.
and they seemed so old. That's kind of how I feel now.
Yeah.
Like, how are the younger kids looking at us?
Yeah, they probably see us as old too. Yeah, they probably see us as old too. And so, but yeah, we just kind of want to talk about what's going on. That's one of the big things, especially for us. We are pastors. Let's just say that, right, for the record. So, we are pastors. We've been in ministry for a very, very long time. But we're going to talk about everything and anything, right?
Yeah.
There's kind of like, I guess, we're not going to restrict, right? It's uncensored in a sense. Right. There's no limits, I guess, no boundaries to where we may go.
Yeah, and we're not just going to be talking about pastoral stuff.
Yeah.
Is probably why you're saying that. Cause,
well, I mean, we'll give you our view, right? And hopefully it's a biblical worldview for many of you, and we're going to give you our opinion. And so you can do with it what you want. That's all it is an opinion.
Right.
And so, but it's not this show in particular is not strictly about ministry. A lot of what you do, a lot of what I do and we do together has been ministry, right? It revolves around ministry because we've been pastors for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
But there's another side to our life,
Yes.
right? Outside of the church, outside of Sunday morning, and it's real life. It's the rest of our life, right? As a married couple, as parents with kids, in a real world, facing real challenges.
Yeah.
And I know there's people out there who sometimes maybe think that we don't relate to them or they cannot relate to us.
Right.
Because they're like, well, they're in ministry, so they must live, this kind of life. And well, I mean, we live a good life, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't come without its challenges and without its
right.
struggles.
Right.
And, we've had issues and we've had challenges in a lot of things, right? From our marriage to our
exempt.
ministry, finances, to our children, so on and so forth, right? And so many of you, I want to just encourage you to stay tuned and don't tune us out too early. Because I know you're thinking about, well, what can these guys teach us?
Yeah.
We're not on the same level, but in many ways we are. We're average people who have pursued the call of God on our life. But in many ways, we face everyday challenges.
Absolutely.
In our marriage and with our kids and with our future and, our grandbaby on the way and stuff. And so we do have a topic we want to talk about, and a lot of what we say is probably going to be closely connected with the Bible because that's pretty much a lot
Our
of
life revolves around
we know
God.
and what we do. You know what I'm saying? And so just bear with us, right? We don't want this to come across as religious,
Yeah.
but just bear with us because obviously the Bible is the good book and it's God's book. And there's a lot we can learn from the Bible. You might not agree with everything
Right.
in the Bible, but I hope that you can agree with the fact that there's a lot of good in the Bible and that it is God's word and it was given for our instruction.
And a lot of fundamental truths that we've lived by that have gotten us this far in our marriage and how we've raised our children in ministry
Yep.
and just how we are as people,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I would say fundamental and universal truths.
Right.
And if you guys listen, think about some of your favorite podcasters. Not all, because there's some people that are way out there, super secular. But think about like your Tony Robbins or your Jordan Petersons or, some of these guys that you all listen to. And there could be some girls there too. And a lot of them make Bible references.
That's right.
A lot of them have
Christian backgrounds.
Yeah, they have Christian backgrounds, Christian values,
Foundations.
Biblical values, and they reference the Bible.
That's right.
And so there's nothing wrong with that. And so again, you might not share the same faith that we do, and you might not read the Bible that often. And so, but we're going to talk about things that apply to us. So anything else you want to add before we get into our topic for today?
Well, I'm excited. This is our first
It is.
episode, so I'm really excited. And again, thanks for watching.
Yeah,
And
so guys, help us make sure this episode is not a dud. It's not a bomb. Okay, so that means you have to like, you have to share,
that's right.
and you have to comment,
Yes.
and subscribe, and ring the bell. Okay, just a couple of things. And then on top of that, add some prayer, because again, we don't want to have 5 views,
Right.
in a month from now, and then realize nobody's listening to us. And so you guys are what's going to help us make this show successful.
Yeah.
And we hope this helps. We really do. We really do. And so, but let's talk about, we spoke recently on another podcast. We were talking about, the husband being the head and the wife submitting to her husband, kind of went through that.
Right.
And we can touch on that if you want, because it does bleed into marriage.
Right.
Right. And I know that there's a lot of people that just wonder what the role of the man is, what the role of the woman is when it comes to marriage.
Right.
And they have yet to find a healthy balance when it comes to marriage. Right. And so you have some very domineering men, and then you have some very strong-willed women.
Right.
And let's just be honest.
Domineering women.
And so there's a lot of headbutting going on
A lot of
in the
clashing.
house.
Right.
And so I think that we need to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because, you don't get married, guys, to get a divorce.
No, absolutely not.
But yet we know that now over 50% of marriages end in divorce.
And that's inside and
outside of the church. Because
Right.
why? Because life is life.
Yeah.
And marriage is marriage, and problems are problems, and people are people. And sometimes even as Christians, we think, oh, well, I'm exempt, I'm immune. Now, I would say that, we probably try a little harder, because of our faith and our religious beliefs. But that's not to say that there doesn't come a time when we want to call it quits,
Right.
because we do.
Yeah.
And like you said, the statistics there might be a little difference, but the statistics are pretty much neck and neck when it comes to, the divorce rate inside and outside of the church.
Yeah.
That means that even so-called Christians, and I'm going to use that word very strategically, even so-called Christians are ending in divorce. Their
That's
marriages
sad.
are ending in divorce.
Yeah.
But, I read something recently talking about that marriage and divorce and stuff. But it said this is the idea or the gist. It said practicing Christians have a way less divorce rate
Wow. That's a difference.
than non-practicing Christians.
Yeah.
And I think that's the nuance. That's the difference. Because if we
right.
just say, hey, Christians have almost the same divorce rate as non-Christians, well, then the idea, right, that people might get is like, well, then what? ¿De qué sirve la iglesia, right?
Right.
What is it worth going to church, and what is it worth praying, and what is it worth doing? Well, wait, hold on. You gotta do a little bit of a deeper dive.
That's right. There's more to it.
Yeah, because
than
there's a
that.
lot of people who call themselves Christians, but they're not practicing Christians.
Yeah.
They're not practicing Catholics.
And it's the same, exactly. I was just going to say that
Yeah.
just like there is Catholics
Yeah,
that
or
say
practicing Methodists, Presbyterians, Lutherans.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can break it up into denominations, right? And even different religions. So
Yeah.
there's professing and there's practicing. So when we use that statistic of, hey, we have the same divorce rate inside and outside of the church, right? Among Christians and non-Christians, or pretty close, again, it's putting everybody in a big bucket. The difference is this: when you have a practicing person
Yeah.
who practices their religion,
Yeah.
who is actually doing their best to live by the good book,
Yeah.
that's what makes a difference. That divorce rate is way lower than 50%.
And the rate will be even lower if both are practicing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no,
Not
for sure.
just one, but both.
Yeah, but I mean, it takes two, right?
Absolutely.
It takes two. It doesn't help if the woman's going to church and the man's not, or if the man's going and the wife's not. And you can look at the statistics for yourself. Do your own diligence, your own due diligence, right? But when the husband's going to church, the family tends to follow.
Yes.
When the wife's going to church, the children tend to follow. When the children are going to church, well, then the children are just going to church. You
That's
know,
right.
sometimes the parents follow, but most likely no.
Right.
So, but it all starts with the head, right? And we talked about that the last time. What does it mean for the husband to be the head of the house? What does that mean to you? What do you think it means to our audience?
Well, to me, as a wife, as the head of the household, to me, that means you're responsible. You're the responsible party in our house, in our family. And
I don't think that's how most people interpret it. How do you think most people see the man being the head?
maybe most people on the outside might see it just as the one that makes the most money
Or makes the final decision?
or makes the final decision, or the male in the house, you know?
Yeah, because when you hear of the head, right, just even looking at the body, the head is the top. It's position. So a lot of us look at, at that verse, so to speak, in Ephesians, and we think about, the head, the husband is the head, which means that he has the positional authority.
Right.
He's over the wife in every way.
Yeah.
And he basically, the wife has to
He's
submit.
the boss.
Yeah, she has to submit to him no matter what.
Right.
And that's not always the case. And I would even go as far as to say that's not even biblical.
Right.
And so I know a lot of us men wish it was, and we act like it is.
Yeah.
Hey, you have to submit.
they
Doesn't
demand,
the Bible say, that you have to submit to me? It does, but again, you got to put that text in context. She doesn't have to submit to a man
Who's not submitted to God.
Well,
necessarily.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to submit to a man who's not submitted to God, because then that man's going to ask her to do things that are unethical,
Right.
that are even possibly illegal, and that's where there's a line.
Yeah.
So for us men who are watching to think that, hey, your wife has to listen to you no matter what, you're wrong. You're wrong in your thinking, and you're taking a text out of context.
Right.
And that's probably one of the reasons, not the only, but one of the reasons why you're struggling right now.
Yeah.
So talk about submission for a little bit. Let's talk about there. Let's park there and see how far we get.
Okay. Well, for a long time, submission to me meant that I had to do everything that you said, that no matter if I was feeling, if I wasn't in agreement, that I still had to, do whatever you said. But, and that was difficult because there was times where what you were asking of me or were asking for me to be in agreement with, I was in an agreement with. And so that's where there was a lot of conflict and things like that.
Yeah, and it could be a decision. So, give us more context. It could be a financial decision.
Right, purchasing something.
It could be making a big purchase.
Right.
It could maybe mean disciplining the kids.
Right.
That maybe you felt I should have gone about it a different way.
Yeah.
So that people have an idea, because those are the everyday, right, challenges is how are we spending our money?
Yeah.
How are we treating each other? How are we raising and rearing our children,
Yeah.
things that we do on our spare time. And so, yeah, there was times that maybe you didn't always agree with me,
Yeah.
and you kind of would go along.
Yeah, yeah, but as I grew in the Lord, that's very important, because if you're immature in God, you're not going to understand the spirituality behind submission, because submission is more a posture of your heart, and it's being obedient to God's word versus being obedient to a man per
Yeah,
se.
yeah,
And so, I've counseled many women throughout the years of ministry, and who have had a lot of trouble submitting to their husbands. And what I tell them is that they have to see that submission is more about obeying God. It's not about obeying man. It's
hmm
about obeying a biblical order, and standing in your place where God has placed
yeah,
you.
yeah. I think it's about divine order, and yet we look at that at the context, right, of Ephesians 5, where it talks about wives, submit to your husbands as unto the Lord, and then it says husbands, love your wives.
Yeah.
So you can't take just the wife submit part without the husband love your wife part.
Right.
Because if the husband truly loves his wife like Jesus loves the church,
Yeah.
then you're not going to be forcing her to do things that she shouldn't be doing, or that you
Right.
shouldn't be doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that's why I think when a man, and we said that earlier, when a man is submitted to God, it helps
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
woman to submit to the man.
Absolutely. And when he's loving her the
Yeah.
way she feels loved, and that's another thing that I think that needs to be talked about too, because the way we define love, and we like the book about the five languages,
Yeah, Gary Chapman.
Gary Chapman's book on the five love languages, that, you can feel love and respected and a certain way when I do certain things, but I don't define love and respect in that way. And so there has to be a clear definition on both parties on how we both define how we feel loved or how you feel respected, and things like that.
Yeah, and I don't know, to be honest, Rose, if people have had that type of gut level conversations.
Yeah,
understand?
and even without getting mad too, because
Yeah,
sometimes
where you ask the woman, like, what
Right.
what makes you feel loved? What makes you feel unloved, right? And then the same thing for women to ask a man, what makes you feel respected? What makes you feel disrespected? So a man might have in his mind, like, oh, you don't respect me and this and that. And the woman might feel,
like, what do you mean? I
well, she might feel like, well, you don't love me.
clean,
You know what I'm saying? You don't love me the way I want to be loved.
Yeah.
And so there's this tug of war. But have we ever even taken the time for the sake of our marriage?
Yeah.
And if you have children, even more so.
Right.
Even more so for the future of your family, have you taken the time to have a sit down conversation, like you said, without getting mad, without it blowing up into an argument, and say,
Offense,
hey,
yeah.
babe, let me ask you, because I know you've said this, that you feel disrespected, right? The wife asking the husband, say, what is it that I do that makes you feel disrespected?
Yeah.
And what can I do to make you feel like I'm respecting you?
Yeah, yeah. And man, that's a big eye opener. Especially, I don't know if it is for you, but it was for me when we had that candid conversation years back, I was like, what do you mean? How can you feel like that? I respect you 100%. But then you said, no, but when you do this, I feel disrespected, or when you do that, I feel that you disrespect me. And I was like, but I'm not trying to disrespect you, babe. It was like an honest conversation that you saw the sincerity in my heart, that I wasn't trying to disrespect you. I just didn't know how you defined it.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of us don't have those honest conversations.
Yeah.
We have, blow ups, we have arguments, we have shouting matches.
See
But
who's
we've
louder.
never sat down. A lot of couples don't want to take counseling.
Yeah.
We've counseled many couples for
Yeah.
many years, and it's hard to get a couple,
Yeah.
both the man and the woman, in the same room to have an honest conversation.
Yeah.
Because either the husband doesn't want to do it, or the wife doesn't want to do it, or even in the conversation, one of them is cold, one of them is quiet. And guys, again, your marriage is one of your greatest investments.
Yeah.
You're going to be married, hopefully a lifetime, but if not, 10, 20 years to that person. And that's a lot of time for you to give a person just for it to end in a divorce.
Yeah, and I love what you said that, we don't get married to get a divorce.
Yeah.
You don't make a life decision for it to end in divorce,
Yeah.
and I think that there has to be enough commitment in the life of a marriage by both people to make to have those honest conversations and to make the right
Yeah, well,
changes.
when we take our vows, right, for better, for worse, in sickness
Yeah.
and in health, for richer, for poor, until death do us part, like those vows don't mean anything anymore.
No, they don't.
They're
They don't.
traditional vows. Nowadays, people want to write their own vows.
Yeah.
Right? They want to be cool.
They're just reworded
It's
in a
like,
different
yeah,
way.
and now you have chat, so it's even better, right? It sounds like so poetic and so romantic, but how much weight are in those words?
Right.
I personally, to be honest, unless the couple, right, when we marry couples, which we don't often do anymore, but whenever we perform a marriage, I like to do the traditional vows. And if they want to do their own vows, they can, but I personally always recommend for us to dedicate the portion of the traditional vows, because those words carry weight.
Right, they do.
For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part.
Yeah, that's the commitment, that there's no more commitment when it comes to marriage,
So you got to remember your vows. And that's why, we believe in making those vows. And please keep in mind too, family, that those vows that you're making at an altar in most cases, or before a justice of the peace or judge or pastor or whatever, priest, you're not just making those vows to each other. You're making those vows to God.
Before God, that's right.
You're making those vows to God. So you better be very careful and very slow to break those vows.
Yeah.
And so I would just encourage you, if you're having struggles in your marriage, if you're having challenges, consider and remember the vows that you made.
Yeah.
And like my wife said, go back to that commitment. And if it takes counseling, well, then get counseling.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, counseling is cheaper than a divorce.
Come on. It's cheaper to keep her.
And it hurts a lot less. It hurts you a lot less, and it hurts your family a lot less, right? And I'm talking about both the families and the family-in-laws, and if there's children.
Right. Even more so.
Even more.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, those children are going to remember that. They're going to hurt for years, and they'll get over it eventually, God willing.
Yeah.
But it does impact them. And for you gentlemen, ladies, to think like, well, no, I'm just divorcing my husband. I'm just divorcing my wife. I'm not divorcing the kids. You can say
That's
that all
not
you
true.
want, but what the kids feel and
Yeah.
what you say are two different things. You can say, baby, I'm not leaving you. I'm just leaving your dad. I'm not leaving you. I'm just leaving your mom. And
Yeah.
that's fine. But your absence in the home,
Yeah. That's right.
it's devastating to a kid.
That's
And
right.
at any age, even to a teenager.
That's right.
When the kids are maybe older and they're wiser and they have more life experience, maybe not as much.
Yeah.
But, we have parents, right? Both your dad, my dad are now with the Lord. Our moms are still living. But they were married forever.
Yeah.
Until the day, right?
Till death do them part.
Yeah, until the day they passed on.
Yeah.
And now they're with the Lord. But that was an example for us.
That's right.
Right? That, hey, we got to keep this thing going.
Yeah.
And we don't have the luxury of calling it quits because we fell out of love. Or because, someone else is paying me more attention.
Yeah.
Like, guys, I'm telling you right now, this is real stuff.
Yeah.
Just because some girls, is batting her eyes at you, those big old fake eyelashes. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that you start talking to her and texting her and messaging her and see if there's something there.
Come on. Yeah.
Don't start on that road. That's
right.
going to end up leading to destruction.
And the same with the women. If there's a man that's telling you you're beautiful, or that he's telling you that you are a wonderful person and that you deserve better, the same with with the woman. She don't believe the lies of the devil.
Yeah. One thing, guys, and you do what you want, right? We're just talking, but this is my belief, and I'm sure you agree. A woman should never have a man, and I'm talking about a married woman.
Yes.
Another man as a best friend.
Come on.
And a man should never have another woman. I don't care how long you've known her. I don't care if that relationship, right, is I don't even know what to call it, monogamous or something like that. Where there's never been any type of romantic feeling. It doesn't matter. You as a man, your best friend is your wife. That's it. And
Yeah.
wife, your best friend is your husband.
And you know this lately thing, like my work wife,
Oh yeah,
or
yeah, and
my
my work
work
husband.
husband, I think that's just disrespect
Yeah.
for the husband and for the
Now
wife,
we get it, right? There's some people that kind of just joke with that, right? We're not throwing shade. We're not
Yeah,
making
but that's
judgments,
disrespectful.
But think about that. Some people are serious, like, oh, this is because you spend more time with that woman at work than you do with your wife. You share more things with that other person than you do with your spouse.
Yeah.
That you're treading on thin ice.
Right.
You're in a danger zone. That's a red flag, guys. And I mean, if I had a red flag, I'd be waving it right now,
Right.
because that's just the truth.
Yeah.
We set ourselves up for failure instead of setting ourselves up for success.
That's right.
The
And then we
affairs
wonder-
don't happen overnight.
Yeah, and then we wonder why we're not receiving the respect that we want or deserve at home. If we're behaving the way we're behaving, or if we're hiding things, or just being suspicious and things like that, and we wonder, well, I don't know why my wife or my husband, we have complaints, and when we ourselves are putting ourselves in that situation,
Yeah.
or we're the ones that are causing the disrespect, we're causing the mistrust, and so, or the questions,
Yeah, you need to make sure, guys, and this goes for the ladies too, is that you're contributing to the success of your marriage and not to the failure of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we kind of see our marriage going down,
Yeah.
and we really don't do much to stop it.
Yeah.
We call it quits too early,
Yeah.
and we just say, well, it's not going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, well, too bad. There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Yeah, but it all comes back to commitment, babe. No, people are not committed anymore. We're not committed. First of all, we're not committed to God. And if we're not committed to God, we're surely not going to be committed to our spouse.
Yeah. Well, my job, right, and my role as a pastor, I wrote this on a blog, I guess you could say, the other day, is that because the Bible compares us to trees as individuals who are supposed to bear fruit, right? It talks about that in Psalm 1. It talks about, you shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of living water, who brings forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. And then John 15 talks about that too, is that it glorifies God when we bear fruit.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what, I want to do just a quick little research. And so I just started researching that whole idea. And I read this, and I don't know how this can connect, but because we're talking about marriage and how we lack commitment. And basically what I discovered is this: a tree, the average fruit tree, does not reach maturity until at least the 7th year. Between 7th and the 15th year.
Wow.
That's when it really starts to produce fruit.
Wow.
But this is what I read, and this is where I want to make I want to connect the dots. The average church attender does not stay at the same church for more than 6 years.
Wow.
So again, guys, call it conspiracy, I don't know, call it whatever you want, but I just thought that was interesting that a tree doesn't start really bearing fruit, producing fruit, until the 7th year. But most people don't stay in a church long enough to bear fruit, because they leave by the 6th year. The majority of people, there's a rotation here. We're recycling people, and they're staying at a church. Some of them don't even stay that long.
Yeah.
Most people won't last at a church within a year, and then they're off to the next church, to the next ministry. But if you're not at your church for at least 7 years, you really didn't give that church a chance, right? But now let's apply that to the marriage, right? How long should a person be married before they start to see,
fruit.
The benefits of being married?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question.
And the fruit, not just in having children, because you can be married 5 days and get pregnant and have a child, 9 months.
And you're in that honeymoon period at first. Some people don't even last that. You're in that honeymoon period, which is about 2 years. They say, hey, if you can survive the first 5 years of your marriage, then you probably have a strong, solid marriage.
Yeah.
But I would just say, based on that fruit tree analogy, that you need to give your marriage a solid 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And really, truly invest.
Yeah.
So if I were to answer the question, right, because I don't want to put a number on it, because some of you might be in your 8th year and you're
Well,
like, okay,
Pastor Loyas said.
yeah. Hey, I heard a pastor say, no, don't do that to me.
I already did the 7 years,
Yeah,
and it
I
still
did my
didn't
7
work.
years. I'm not gonna do anymore.
No.
And 7 years to life, right? So if the question is, how long should a person stay married before they really see the fruit of that marriage?
Yeah.
My honest answer would be as long as it takes.
That's so good. Yeah.
Because remember, the fruit tree is from 7 to 15 years. And again, I don't want to put a time slot on it, because you might start reaping the benefits early on.
Or you might be a different tree.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So your lifespan.
That's what I'm saying. You can't really put a
is
time
different.
frame on it. You
Yeah.
can't put a time frame on it. You know what I'm saying? But it keeps producing. After it starts producing mature fruit,
Yeah.
right? The tree reaches maturity. The fruit is ripe and ready, and then it'll produce from that point on.
And the thing is, and we know it. I mean, we've been married in 1 month. We'll be married 33 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time, babe. Okay, don't make that face.
Yeah. Yeah, when you say it like that, it kind of...
Yeah, but that's 33 years, and it doesn't get any easier. It's not like if we get up every day and it's like, I love you as much as
I do.
The thing is, like, we have to work our marriage every day.
Yeah.
We have to try to get along every day.
Yeah.
We have to work
Well,
hard.
maybe not every day, but most days.
Most days.
Yeah. I mean, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, because we have things coming in from every side, right? We wear different hats. Some, you might be frustrated one day, I might be frustrated a different day. And so we have to know how to navigate through marriage every single day, and it's something that you work at.
Yeah, and I would say this, guys, is that we all have bad days.
Yeah.
Right? But if you've been having bad day after day after day after day, it's not a bad day anymore. It's a bad life.
Yeah.
And it's probably a poor attitude, and it's probably the consequence of making poor choices.
Yes.
Because your life shouldn't be that bad. You got to make right choices. You got to make healthy changes. You got to be committed to your spouse and to your children.
Yeah.
And a big part of that, obviously, in our case and in the case of many people that we've personally walked through, is God.
Yes.
God at the center
Amen.
of that marriage. God at the center of that family. God at the center. You can even apply it to business. God at the center of that business.
Right.
When you put God at the center,
Yeah.
and everything else revolves around him, then that has such a gravitational pull, right? It's like the sun, that you have all these planets that revolve around the sun, and there's a gravitational pull that keeps everything in its place in this perfect order. And they said, I think if we were 1 degree closer as a planet, right? If we were 1 degree closer to the sun, we would burn up.
Yeah.
If we were 1 degree farther, we would freeze
up.
Just 1 degree. Now, it might be a couple. I'm not a scientist. Okay? This is not financial advice. But what I'm just saying is that's how perfect God created everything.
Yeah.
And the same thing, if you're just 1 degree off, it can affect.
Yeah.
You're just 1 degree off on that flight plan, you could run into a mountain.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of what the importance of having God in a marriage, the importance of having God in any relationship, as the center, the catalyst of that relationship, that it will always flow. Now there will be bumps, it will get crazy, especially when you have children, when you have to provide, when there's challenges, whether that's physical challenges, financial challenges, any type of challenge, but when you have God in it, you're gonna make it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
When God is, and I'm gonna say this, an intricate part
Yes.
of your marriage. Okay, he's not just a small little part. He's not a Sunday deal, where you kind of go visit God like you do grandma, once a week or every other week.
Yeah.
When God is an intricate, viable part.
It goes
Integral.
back to the commitment that
Or
you're
integral
committed.
part, yeah.
Yeah, and it goes back to the commitment that when, like in Ephesians 5:20, 21, 22, when he talks about a man that is submitted to God, that loves his wife, then a woman can submit to the husband. And so there's a commitment from God to us, but then there has to be a commitment from us to God.
Yeah.
That God will bless our marriage, but we have to be committed to him as well. We
Yeah.
can't expect God to fix everything, or for God to,
Yeah.
well, God said everything was going to be fine, but yet we're not committed to him.
And I would just say this in closing, Rose, that, I don't want anybody, because life is hard.
Yeah.
Marriage is hard. And, we understand that there are some circumstances and there are some situations
Yes.
that lead to this divorce. And some of those divorces, let's be honest, were unwanted divorces.
Sadly.
Right? That the husband or the wife really didn't want the divorce, but the other person filed, the other person, took it upon themselves, decided, and you basically had to go along with it. And so I just don't want anybody to feel bad,
right?
Because you're on your second marriage, or you're on your third marriage, or maybe you've never been married. I mean, again, there's no shame, there's no shade here.
That's right.
We're just talking about what we've lived that has helped our marriage, what we've seen over the years. We've counseled, I don't know, thousands maybe,
Lots.
Of marriages,
Lots
off and on, maybe through a text, through a phone call, through a conversation, through conferences,
Yeah.
through sit downs. So again, guys, wherever you are on this spectrum,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, you start off single, you might be a widow, you could be divorced, you could be married for the third time, you could be married to the same person for 30 years like we are. Wherever you are on that spectrum, we still need God. We still need God. All of us do.
Absolutely.
And we need God to be a part of our life.
Amen.
Of every area.
Yeah.
Of everything. So anything else you want to add before we let people go?
Well, I think that I want to encourage people to make a commitment to try to, if they're in a place in their marriage right now that maybe they're kind of struggling, but make a commitment today to make it work. Or maybe sit down with your spouse and have those conversations, those heart-to-heart conversations. What is it that I do that maybe makes you feel disrespected, or what can I do to make you feel loved?
Yeah. I think it's having those conversations, and this is not, an endorsement. I guess it is and it's not, right? Because he's not a sponsor, but Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages, would be a good read.
Yeah.
For you to go through it together. Take the free online test, just to kind of figure out where you are on this journey, and find out, how do you define love?
And there's tools out there that can help your marriage get better. But if you're not committed to making those changes or to trying, then
Yeah. And I would just probably add, find a good local church. We have stuff for men, we have events for men, gatherings for men. We have a lot of stuff for women.
Yeah.
We have conferences all the time. We have free counseling services, that we offer here at the church for people who may be struggling. We actually partner with another organization called Stitch that offer free professional licensed counseling for people who are in need. And we can just recommend you, and you can jump on that, because you might be thinking, man, I don't have the money. I don't have the money to afford, even sitting down with a pastor or to get some type of professional counseling. Well, sometimes it's not money. It's just, like you said, it's just about the commitment.
Yeah.
Are you willing to do what you got to do?
Yeah.
Put money aside. God will provide.
Amen.
Are you willing to do what you got to do? Whether that means apologize, whether that means change, whether that means start going to church, whether that means counseling, whatever that means, in order for you to make your marriage work and secure your family's future. And so,
well, thanks for watching
Yeah,
Lately
yeah.
with the Loyas. We
Yeah.
hope you've enjoyed our first episode, and come back, share, invite your friends.
yeah, so if you're watching, guys, again, as we close, you're part of history. We're hoping to have, within the next couple of months, 1 million subscribers. I'm just kidding. We would love to have 1 million subscribers, but we can't even get nowhere near that number without your help. And so
That's
do us a
right.
favor, guys. Again, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. and share this video with a friend, or a family member. You might have a teenager and say, well, they're not even married, right? they're barely in high school, or but this might help them. You never know. We're going to be coming to you with a ton of different topics, and we're hoping to do this on a very regular basis, at least monthly. Yeah. Right? If not more often. And so, but thank you for being part of our first episode. Yay. Of our first episode.
We did it.
And so, thank you. And we want to just, God bless each and every one of you. And we wish you the best. And until next time, you've been here lately with the Loyas. God bless you guys.